the core wire in, and we always like to put a little grease on the core wire. And I just use regular Kendall Blue grease that we use on all the machines to lubricate them. Yeah, it's been done, but you know, I'll have 100 of them laid out here because they come in rolls of 100, and I'll just grease them down a little bit.
Turn it around.
And then take the casing, grab enough casings, and then I just put them in. You kind of, when you're putting them in, you'll notice when you're looking at them if there's a square tip that's broke.
They come already with the square tip?
They come with a square tip on it. You look at these two, the square tips are broke.
Okay.
I will use those for the fish scaler cable that hooks into a drill.
Oh.
I'll reuse those. And I usually do a couple hundred and then have them on hand. Which is what, you know, all these are already done. So that's the step for that. Then I'll show you how to put the bearing on the... You get the scaler head in from the company, and then you take your bushing or bearing. We call them both different things. You just set that in there, you get your washer in, and there's a groove on the end of this. On the end of that washer will just sit in there.
Okay.
Sometimes it might fall out, sometimes it might not. And then you just, see, it falls out. That's all that does.
You just hold it in for...
Just hold it in until it
Gets there.
goes all the way in there.
It stops.
Yep. And you can crank up as much pressure as you want.
That's gotta happen a lot.
No, and it usually, not a lot. It pushes down there. And then you just make sure it spins freely.
Okay.
And that's all there is to that. And I'll usually have, you know, then you take your assembled cable, and there's a stop block on the end of this rail, and that can be adjusted.
Okay.
Okay? Depends on what you're doing with it. Then you take a assembled scaler with the bushing on it and the housing, and I always just do this just to make sure it's going to spin in there. If you get an oblong washer or something, it'll rub on the inside of this. Then the housing slips over the outside of the casing. The core wire, you make sure the core wire is sticking through enough where you can grab it. And the core wire will go inside the hole on the scaler head. And then it rests in its appropriate spot on the die. And then all you do, there's a double punch that activates it. Then you take it, make sure it's out appropriately, you know, the right
Could
distance.
you have gone further down?
You could go farther down. The farther down you go, the more that's going to stick out. And you don't want that sticking out too far. That's probably...
Is there a set length
somewhere
you want it sticking out?
Yeah, there is. It's
Oh, you said
and
you
it's,
measured
there's a marking on this
Yeah.
on this plate here, and that's like 7/16 of an inch at least, and it's
It has
right.
to fall in between those two lines.
Yes, for the best result. If it's too short, then it doesn't go up into the motor far enough,
Yeah.
or
it goes in.
it will. This casing will bottom out on the shaft of the motor.
And this is the square end, right?
That's the square end. If it's too far, then you're not getting the ferrule that goes on the end of this, doesn't have enough space here to crimp on. Okay? Then I just throw them in the bucket. you know, anywhere from 60 to 100 of them at a time. And all the time you make sure it still spins freely. You don't want it binding. Okay? Then you have the cable assembly like that. Then you need to put a grip on it.
Yeah.
And the grip and the hole that needs to be drilled out. And that just slides over it. And you push it up and it will actually stop on the bushing. Okay? Then from that point you will have a nut and a ferrule. And you make sure you put the nut on with the hex head going towards the grip. And then the ferrule with the skinny end on first. And then that's where the electro punch comes in. This electro punch is set, and you can adjust the settings, how deep it is offset from there. And you like to be able to, once it's set, you should be able to stick your finger in there and just feel the tip of that. And then you put that in there, and there's a push button on this side, and we do it 3 times.
Without spinning it?
Without spinning it, because it's crimping it on all 6 sides. The way this is shaped and the way this is shaped, it's 6 sides. Boom, boom, boom. And that's a completed fish scaler cable.
Is there a reason for the 3 times?
Just to make sure it's